Good evening, ladies and gents, this is Supermunch, and this week I've mostly been playing No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is an exploration game where a vast virtual universe and over 18 quintillion randomly generated planets are your oyster. 18 quintillion. That number alone were enough to get the hype train flying out the station for me and a butt ton of other gamers. And well, how could it not? That's a pretty big number, and merely exploring a tiny fraction of all those planets sounded like a gamer's dream to me. So after a long ass wait, we can finally sit down and experience the game and see if it was all worth the wait and the hype. Was it? Starting out with a crashed ship on your very own randomly generated planet on the edge of an unfathomably large universe is a pretty cool way to start your own space story. You immediately get a taste for exploration, and scouring the planet for resources to fix your shipulation is a fun way to ease you into what the game's all about. Once you're up in the air, you're completely free to do whatever you please, whether it be searching your current planet for resources or points of interest, or making your way to other unique planets. Once you start doing this though, it quickly becomes apparent that unique doesn't always mean dissimilar, as each planet only seems to differ in its colour palette and arrangement of geographical features. Almost every planet I've explored so far has had a monolith, a few empty buildings for looting, an advanced lifeform for conversing with, and a slightly varied array of mineable resources, which doesn't really scream unique either. Each planet does have its own climate and weather hazards though. One planet might be dangerously hot and another might have high levels of radiation, which is pretty cool and adds a little more variety, but ultimately all this boils down to is the colour of a bar at the bottom of your screen that you have to keep topped up. And if you never stray too far from your ship, which likely you won't need to, this never really becomes a problem even during storms. There's often a species or two of creatures and plants to discover, and while these can vary quite a bit in terms of appearance and personality, their purpose and your interaction with them is generally the same on every planet. For example, at some point you'll spot a large, carnivorous, aggressive beast. What do? You scan it in from a distance, name it something silly, and you get some credits. And then later on a different planet, you might see a small, cute little four-legged skittish creature. What do? Well, you scan it in from a distance, name it something silly, and get some credits. And while each planet is massive enough to explore for weeks, not only does having a ship equipped with scanners and a pulse drive make this child's play, it also seems pointless anyway, as travelling to another planet will take seconds and it'll likely have the same resources anyway. But No Man's Sky is also a game of setting your own goals, and since getting to the centre of the universe is obviously a task that's supposed to take a very long time, you'll want to occupy yourself with other things. Perhaps you've got your heart set on a new ship, or you want to catalogue every species on a planet, or every planet and moon in a system. But I found that setting your own goals can get repetitive as well. I've very quickly ran out of interesting things to engage and challenge myself with. Buying and upgrading starships isn't a very rewarding experience either. The main difference between ships, besides their appearance, is the number of inventory slots. And while managing inventory seems to be one of the game's main gameplay mechanics, it feels like purchasing a 10 million unit starship should offer a little bit more than just a larger cargo hold. And every ship can be upgraded in pretty much the exact same way, by giving them stronger or faster weapons or a stronger shield, both of which is centred around a very simple crafting system. Piloting the ships isn't quite as much fun as it should be either. Taking off and landing is done with a push of a button, which, in my opinion, is usually one of the more fun aspects of virtual flight. When airborne, you're prevented from flying too close to a planet's surface, reinforcing your lack of control during flight and making searching a planet for useful materials involve a lot of push-button landing, scanning, and taking off again. Dogfighting while in space is fine, but like a lot of other features, flying just about covers it. Combat encounters with enemy ships lack variety and rely more on your ship's current weapon and shield upgrades than any sort of skill. It's such a shame that something you spend half the game doing just feels less about having a bit of fun and more about getting from A to B. Graphically, this game looks okay. I'm not blown away, but nothing looks particularly awful. Except for maybe when you're entering a planet's atmosphere and all the scenery warps and fuzzes as it's being rendered. I'm quite fond of the visual style. The colours mostly are fairly attractive, and as you're pottering around the universe you will come across some rather nice views. When I think about what it is that I don't like about No Man's Sky, it isn't any of what's actually in the game, it's what's not. I was really looking forward to discovering all the things they hadn't told us about at E3. All the little things we were left to find by ourselves. And I was a little bit disappointed to find out that there wasn't really much of that. And that what we were shown is pretty much what we got. And even in some cases, we didn't even get that. Yet despite its depth, I still did find myself coming back every now and then for a little bit of exploring. In summary, there's nothing wrong with No Man's Sky. I don't think it's a bad game, but I don't feel like I can call it a good game either. Some people will find this kind of experience way more enjoyable than I did, while other people will find it a complete waste of their time. For me, it's right down the middle. It's a completely average game. It's not a bad game, it's not a good game, and I really can't think of any other way of describing it.